The devil works hard, but PR works even harder. Okay. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Happy Monday. I hope you had the most amazing weekend. I sure did, and it is such a beautiful day here today. So we are just gonna dive right in. This whole video is all gonna be about it ends with never. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Grab your emotional lip gloss. We're starting right away with the PR disaster that keeps happening and happening and happening. And then we have some responses from Stephanie motherfucking Jones in the court dockets. And we're just gonna dive right in, girl. So let's get into it. You're in frame with Mandy Magnan. Apply it, girlies, because my oh my, we have another PR bust. What is going on? It's like try hard much, just like overdoing it, over trying. Over the weekend, a body double for Justin Baldoni has come forward out of nowhere and says he's not on either side of the fight, but clearly was supporting Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. It's so obvious. So we're going to talk about that. But first, I want to back it up to last week when those advocacy groups came forward and out of nowhere on the same day filed amicus briefs for Blake Lively in support of Blake Lively. Well, now, you want to call us internet sleuths, more like detectives, but someone has pieced together these groups, and my oh my, like the work that these PR people, like, it's shady, it's bad, we see right through it, and it's so gross. I mean, last week we already went over the one girl, I believe her name is Elise Dorsey. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I will tag it and put the thumbnail right here for you so that you can go and check that out, and then you could paint, you could choose your own side of the story and what you believe here. Number one right now, I think that she just wanted more of her story told to continually harass this professor and also get more money in her GoFundMe. Sorry, not sorry. But she came out saying that her story was like Blake's and da-da-da-da-da. Well, no, girl, it turns out that you were in an 11-year-long affair, both married, and then you went a little delulu when he broke up with you for his other mistress. Because if he would have stayed with you, you would have never filed any of the things you filed. Like, it's a scorned woman. Sounds like a very bitter woman, kind of like Stephanie Jones. I think that personally, if Wayfair would have stayed with Stephanie Jones, we wouldn't be here today, and there would be no lawsuits or anything like that with the smear campaign, because she turned over all of Jen Abel's phone records, I think unethically, and I think personally illegally, but I don't know, super shady, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, this body double has come out over the weekend, and we'll get there, but let's go over these advocacy groups real quick, because somebody on Reddit was doing amazing work, and yeah, I think it's really going to shock you how far money goes and how deep these people have, like how the reach that they have through their power and money and fame, that they kind of get to control a lot of people and businesses and nonprofits just from their donation. So let's just take a look at how they are all tied in together and how it is definitely not a good look for Snake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So this is pulled right off Reddit by an amazing creator, Team Justin Baldoni at Noin99Noine. Oh gosh, y'all know I don't say names very good, but that's who pulled this, and I thought it was very interesting. A lot of people are doing a lot of digging and finding out that they are all connected. So of course that's why 3 people or 3 groups came forward on the same day with their amicus brief in support of Blake Lively, using this new California law, citing that if the judge doesn't dismiss Justin Baldoni's counterclaims against Blake Lively, that all future victims and survivors will suffer, and the world is watching, and he needs to do the right thing, and that's dismiss Justin Baldoni's claims. It's a bunch of baloney, but here we go. So then you have the advocacy groups and Leslie Sloan, who is Blake Lively's long time PR person as well as her law firms all donate to these advocacy groups. So you have the Child USA. Sloan's law firm donated $10,000 to Child USA. Hillary Nappy is the board member of Child USA. She worked at Leslie Sloan's law firm for 9 years, so they obviously know each other. I mean, my gosh, Sanctuary for Families, Lively's law firm, has offered them pro bono work. Lively's law firm is listed as a supporter on their website. Blake Lively's law firm was also their law firm in the past, Sanctuary for Families firm. They represented them pro bono, so obviously like tit for tat a little bit, a little bit of we did all of this for you for free. Now you got to help us out. The Equal Rights Advocates, Lively's publicist, her law firm has made donations to them. The California Women's Law Center, Ezra Hudson, who is Blake Lively's current lawyer, she's on the board of directors. She's on the board of directors. Okay, this is so shady. My gosh. And then Kathy Wonderill is a partner at Blake Lively's law firm, and she's also on the board of directors of the California Women's Law Center, the people who put in the amicus to support Blake Lively. It didn't just come out of nowhere. Her own lawyers sit on the board of directors for these groups. My gosh, like there are so many connections with these people. Blake Lively's law firm is Manapp, Phelps, and Phillips LLP, as well as Wilkie Farr and Gallagher LLP. And yeah, so far this year, we can't see the donations made to the group. But I mean, keep your eyes out, because as soon as this information becomes public, I guarantee either they're going to try to hide this, or we're going to see that Leslie Sloan as well as Ezra Hudson from Blake Lively's law firm has made significant donations to these organizations. And this just goes to show that they're pulling out all the stops and trying so hard. And I really hope the judge sees this, and I hope that Justin Baldoni and Brian Friedman and his lawyers see this, and they see the connections made, because this is so shady. It was already shady that they were filed exactly on the same day, out of nowhere, like 5 months after Blake Lively filed her lawsuit and Justin Baldoni countered with his own. Then they filed this on the same day, and now everyone's connected the dots. First, it was, Dorsey, Elise Dorsey, her story crumbled real quick, and now we get to the advocacy groups and realize that they are being paid by Leslie Sloan as well as Blake's own lawyers. And now, out of nowhere again, seemingly out of nowhere, Justin Baldoni's body double from It Ends With Us has come forward, all of a sudden just bring, called up the Daily Mail and was like, I have something for you, and then literally told us nothing. It was, it's just so annoying. Like, just either he wants to get work from this with Ryan Reynolds, he's already been promised work, or he's hoping that, they see this and then offer him more work. This is him working with Blake in the past. This was the promo that she was doing for A Simple Favor. Yeah, okay, so let's get into the article.
Everybody who should have been here, like for intimacy scene, intimacy coordinator, everybody who was necessary was there.
Dun, dun, dun. Justin Baldoni's body double breaks cover to reveal what Blake Lively was really like on set. Cover up and the subtle tell she was in a bad place. Oh my gosh. It's just so funny, like the way they write things. Just when you thought you'd heard everything about the rancorous It Ends With Us dispute, Justin Baldoni's on-screen body double has broken cover to give fresh insight into the behind-the-scenes drama. Speaking exclusively to the Daily Mail, stunt actor Thomas Canestraro, who joined the production for the final 2 weeks of filming in early 2024 as Justin Baldoni's body double, revealed the apparent tension on set, divulging that Blake Lively was closed off during filming. Then he says, "You can tell that the set was tense. There was some discomfort from everybody." Yeah, I wonder why, because they were so behind schedule. If we remember correctly, they wanted to go back in November. They sent the schedule the day The strike ended. Blake Lively asked for an extension to December. Then December came, and then she pushed it all the way to January. So they were so behind. Then on top of that, on set, she would rewrite scenes, redirect scenes, and then also then refuse to shoot scenes that were already previously blocked and rehearsed. So yeah, I think there was some tension on set there, buddy. But then he said, oh, he just couldn't shake the feeling that something had occurred between Baldoni and Blake Lively. Yeah, what do you think? Like, yeah, something occurred. You know what it was? You know what it was? Blake Lively's a monster. Then he goes on to say that he wasn't aware of the magnitude of BS that was happening on the set. Of course, I'm paraphrasing here. And that whoever had knowledge of it noted that they did a great job of damage control. Then he went on to say, what I did experience was filming that was taking longer than expected. It prompted questions like, what's happening here? Why are we taking so much time to film all of this scene? Why are we not on schedule? To anybody that hasn't been on set, this is normal. Like, there's a saying on set to hurry up and then wait, because sometimes you all hurry up to get processed through hair and makeup and stuff, and then you wait. There's a lot of waiting that happens on set. It's not just like bam, 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 bam. I mean, everyone is working, but as an artist or as an actor, there's a lot of waiting time, okay? It's like well known that sets always kind of go behind. It's very, very normal to be behind schedule day of or hours of shooting. It's not rare, okay, to be behind. So when I read that, I was like, yeah, every set is usually behind a little bit, or there are delays or longer hours of the day. I mean, that is just absolutely normal. I did find this interesting when he said his experience with Lively was also marked different from the last time they worked together on a marketing campaign for her film A Simple Favor in 2018. At the time, the provocative adverts called for Canestrao to pose in the buff with only a sock covering his genitalia as Lively stood over him. During the shoot, he recalled he had an extremely easy time working with the actress, who made sure he was provided with a bathroom after the photo shoot wrapped. When he reunited with the actress on the set of It Ends With Us, then he felt comfortable working with Lively again, but noticed an unusual change in her behavior, saying that she was more closed off. Yeah, 2018, you worked with her one time on a photo shoot or whatever. It's now 2024. Things change, people change. Like, yeah, she was definitely is a lot more closed off than she probably was when she was doing all of that stuff back in the day. And this is where it gets kind of messy, and this to me is just so freaking cringe for people, or a woman especially, because like Blake Lively can't separate her work from her marriage. Like Ryan Reynolds allegedly now just shows up on set. It screams to me controlling. It screams to me dependent. It screams to me unprofessional. Okay, because then he says, and when Lively's husband Reynolds appeared on set, he didn't think twice about it. Originally, I came on set my first day and Ryan was on set, and I'm like, oh my God, what a cool thing. It's like when I was in A Simple Favor. What a supportive husband who just comes on set to cheer his wife. I just love that about them. That's such a cool synergy in that couple, he said. Then he added, and now I'm like, oh, was Blake already in such a bad place that Ryan came to make sure that she was okay? If Blake Lively was in such a bad place, why is she still on that set? Why is Ryan Reynolds not pulling the set? We know he has the power, the fame, the money. Okay? So what? He's just going to come and emotionally support her, but allow her to continually be sexually harassed repeatedly? And at this point in Blake Lively's own lawsuit, in her own words, she says phase 2 was Gucci. Everything went well after that January 4th ambushed meeting. That everything was fine after that. So what is he saying? He was there the last 2 weeks of set and it was still really tense and like she needed saving from her husband. But she literally says in her own words that everything after January 4th was fine. Then he does say here that he played his Justin Baldoni stuntman and that he describes Justin Baldoni as extremely friendly. Duh. Like, while Blake Lively's closed off, Justin Baldoni is extremely friendly, and what, we're blaming Justin Baldoni that Blake Lively was closed off? Or maybe she's just a mean monster. Hello? But anyway, then he says about Justin Baldoni, he has a wife, he has a family, he has friends, and he has people who right now, some of them believe him, some of them have a question mark over his head, and that must not be a good place to be. It must affect him. I don't think anyone that actually knows Justin Baldoni is probably questioning anything about him, because he has been true to who he was since day one. He's never shifted or grifted away with the times, or tried to be relevant, or tried to be cool, or tried to just go with what was in. He is stuck true to his moral compass, I feel like, and I've been watching him since Jane the Virgin, okay? And then, of course, they say, oh, but he isn't taking a side. He's hoping the sparring co-stars will eventually resolve their feud, which he feels overshadowed the film's message about domestic abuse. I don't even want to be in any team, he said. I hope they can find an agreement. We don't need that in the industry, and at the same time, you can't discredit anybody's feelings or anybody's experience. Okay. And the stunts that he did for Justin Baldoni shows you just how much Justin Baldoni was trying to protect his body and his back, because his stunts were, I mean, I think a lot of actors who don't have back problems would be able to perform if they trusted their co-star, as well as, you know, were physically able to do it. And one of the stunts that he says he did was when he was on top of Lily Bloom, the character, and she pushes him off of him and he like falls to the ground. That just shows that he was really concerned about his back and his probably even getting close to Blake at this time. That's probably why he hired a stunt double to do just holding Blake down onto the ground, because who knows what she would have said if that was Justin Baldoni holding her down to the ground. But now that a stunt double did it, it was perfectly fine. But it just goes to show that even if it was because of his back problems that he hired him, and not because of the lack of trust that they had, you know, together, and that he wanted to pump the brakes and really pull back from Blake Lively and not do any of the physical things, which is a real shame, that him asking for her weight so that he can practice the lift scene makes total sense. And also, fat shaming isn't against the law. So even if it wasn't that, and he just really wanted to know how much Blake Lively weighed because, you know, he so cares about how much Blake Lively weighs that he asked her trainer about it, it's not against the law. But this just, I think, shows that, one, he was very concerned about his back, that he hired a stunt body double to do these physical scenes. And two, this was at the end of filming, and wanted to make sure that he distanced himself so that Blake Lively couldn't come back at him and say all of this other stuff. Can you imagine if this was Justin Baldoni holding Blake Lively down, what she would have had to say about this particular scene that was being shot? Probably a lot more. Probably knowing her. Well, not that I know her, but y'all know how I feel about it. And just for reference again, this was the photo shoot that he was talking about with Blake Lively, promoting A Simple Favor, but there's more. Do y'all remember this picture that came out where allegedly everyone thought that this was a black man that Blake Lively was putting her feet on, promoting A Simple Favor? I don't know how this promotes A Simple Favor or the other one at all. However, they stepped in and made it all about Ryan Reynolds. They made A Simple Favor #1 about Ryan Reynolds. This is him too. So I don't know if they painted his body to seem darker or just did that in post, but this is Blake Lively again with this same dude. And what's very interesting that I found is after these pictures came out, Ryan Reynolds had something to say about these pictures too. This was in September of 2018 after those pictures came out and they were promoting A Simple Favor. And the Daily Mail, again, they say Ryan Reynolds trolls wife Blake Lively's racy snap of her being straddled by muscular male model. Then when she posted this, then her caption I found was very interesting to this picture. She writes, "My turn." Okay, very interesting. Kind of sexy, I guess, asking for her to be spread open, you know. And then Ryan Reynolds wrote, "He seems nice." So he was trolling her along the way. And why do you think he didn't care that Blake Lively was out here doing these kind of things to promote a simple favor? Well, because Ryan Reynolds was being paid. He was being paid off these ads because right before this, he had acquired a major stake in Aviation Gin. The same Aviation Gin that Blake Lively bamboozled the director Paul Feig into using. He's already made a statement and then redacted that statement about it. The truth is the truth. It's already been out there, okay? He didn't know that it was Ryan Reynolds' gin at first. But yeah, right before this, so this was in September of 2018. In February of 2018, Ryan Reynolds became a significant owner after acquiring a large stake in the top shelf Portland distilled spirit. And that was procured in 2016 by Davos Brands. So that's why he didn't care. Seems nice. You know why they're so mad at Justin Baldoni, Wayfair, Jamie Heath, blah, 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 is because Ryan Reynolds wasn't making any money off of it. At that point, he wasn't getting his cut for using his wife. Whereas in A Simple Favor, Blake Lively, if you want to do whatever you want to do with this nice model, it's great because what martini is that? What is the alcohol? Aviation Gin in A Simple Favor. So Ryan Reynolds was racking up the money with all of these posts. Same thing with this post here. Aviation Gin. Ryan was making money. Ryan was not making money off It Ends With Us yet until Maximum Effort had to weasel their way in there, Ryan Reynolds' PR company, in order to make money again off of anything that his wife Blake Lively does. And now, who's afraid of the big bad Stephanie motherfucking Jones? Stephanie Jones has come back in the courts with her motion to oppose the Wayfarers motion. So let's just get into it. Stephanie Jones has filed 2 reply memorandums of law in support of motion to get out of this whole mess. So this is in the Jennifer Abel versus Jones lawsuit, not the Lively with all of the other people. Okay, so this is in the other court. So this is her replies. And if you haven't seen the other videos where we go over Wayfarer's replied to her, I mean, there's just so much going on. But what I really thought is when I read these, I was getting so aggravated. And then I remembered that I heard some lawyers say on here before that if their client is like snarky and kind of rude and brash, then more likely their lawyers are going to be. But if their clients are more, you know, like the client kind of is the exact same as the lawyer or vice versa. And this just goes to prove it because, oh man, it was like, just reading it, I was just so annoyed with this woman because I fully believe 100% with my full chest and my heart, I'm telling you, if Wayfarer would have stayed with Stephanie Jones and not left and gone with Jennifer Abel and Melissa Nathan, we would not be here today. We are only here today because this woman on the screen, once again, had a client leave her and could not handle it. So she went so bitter, scorched earth, and decided to ruin these people's lives and teamed up with Leslie Sloan and the Lively parties. And that's why we're here today, is that they thought that they could destroy these people's lives because how dare you leave Stephanie Jones? And it's just absolutely crazy that now she's like, nope, I'm innocent. They're both only about 16 pages long, but I've read through both of them and we'll just highlight what I found was the most relevant parts. This was filed on May 29th, 2025. Stephanie Jones, Jones Works LLC, and Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, Justin Baldoni, Wayfarer Studios LLC. And then I think it's so funny that she adds John Doe's 1 through 10 now in her filings because, I mean, wowzers, right? If we all know, you all know about the sham subpoena and that fake lawsuit by fake Lively. But this is the plaintiff's reply in further support of their motion to dismiss Jennifer Abel's amended counterclaims. And now I know that reading the court dockets isn't for everyone. I've got a little bit of comments from people saying that when it gets to the court dockets, they get really bored. But I think it's important, instead of just reading fast news or headlines, to kind of get the stuff and see it with your own eyes. So that's what I do here. So if you're not liking the court dockets, that's what the rest of the video is going to be. Okay. And now be prepared to just be blown away, and not all of the good ways, I think. Here we go. Jennifer Abel changes her story so much it is hard to keep track of what her claims even are. This is telling because if her claims contained even a modicum of truth or factual basis, they would not and could not continually and constantly morph. Yet, after multiple attempts, Abel cannot, and in some cases does not even attempt to, support or explain the basis of her claims. Abel functionally abandons her Computer Fraud and Abuse Act claim, not even bothering to rebut plaintiff's motion and thereby admitting the futility of this claim. This follows her similar abandonment of previously pled but entirely faulty claims for false imprisonment and California statutory protections, which she dropped wholesale in response to plaintiff's first motion to dismiss. Even when she haphazardly throws arguments at the wall, these arguments are wholly unavailing. Indeed, unable to identify any actual actions JonesWorks took that could constitute hacking, she recasts her hacking claims as data privacy claims in direct contradiction of Congress and courts' plain statements. Unable to point to anything, even in her own amended counterclaim, that could support her allegations that JonesWorks cast her in a false light, Abel seeks to rewrite that claim on the fly in opposition. Abel's opposition follows the same pattern as her amended counterclaim. It seeks to substitute generisms and platitudes for concrete arguments and legal authority. This scattershot approach to pleading fails to meet even the bare minimum pleading standards required to state a claim, and the amended counterclaims should be dismissed. I just think it's absolutely bonkers because, she's not just throwing Jennifer Abel under the bus here, but definitely Brian Freeman, who drafted all of those complaints. Do you think that he's just, trying everything and anything, or have they stated their claim pretty freaking fairly? And of course, they don't have to put all of the evidence in right now. That's when discovery happens. That's when they go to court. And Wayfair in this argument has already asked for a trial by jury. 1. Abel offers no defense of her failure to satisfy Rule 8. Throughout her opposition, Abel doubles down on her generic, fact-free, and conclusory allegations, asserting time and time again that they are sufficient to plead the multitude of claims that she brings. Arguing vague allegations that JonesWorks accessed and obtained all of Abel's private data and personal information are sufficient. Rule 8 requires that a pleading contain a short and plain statement of the claim, which must comprise more than labels and conclusions. A formalic recitation of the elements of a cause of action will not do. Naked assertions devoid of further factual enhancement do not suffice. The amended counterclaims fall short of this threshold standard, and Abel's opposition's parroting of those insufficient allegations does not salvage them. For example, Abel argues that her invasion of privacy claims are adequately pled because they allege that JonesWorks obtained all of her private data and personal information, including her text messages, personal emails, photos, notes, browsing history, and sensitive medical and financial information. But Abel offers no further factual enhancement supporting this naked assertion. She does not point to even a single example of a personal email, item of browsing history, photo, note, medical information, or financial information that JonesWorks allegedly accessed, nor does she explain any basis for allegedly having come to understand that this has happened. Likewise, to defend her emotional distress claim, she argues that JonesWorks abused its position of power to obtain Abel's private communications, emails, and personal photos under false pretenses, but cites only to a single paragraph in her complaint that merely repeats those words without any factual enhancement. And for her numerous hacking claims, she points only to her vague allegations that JonesWorks accessed her communications stored on a cloud-based server owned by Apple and Google. She does not specify a single communication accessed, let alone when it was accessed, how, by whom, or for what reason she has to believe this happened at all. Unable to muster anything more than a vague generalities and formalic recitations of elements, Abel's claims should be dismissed. I think this is kind of silly because Blake Lively in her own CRD complaint and then her second complaint hasn't shown anything either, like zero evidence. None of Abel's arguments rescue her hacking claims. Abel cannot write the hacking out of anti-hacking statutes. After abandoning her CFAA claim, Abel vainly attempts to save her remaining statutory claims by recharacterizing them as data privacy claims to excuse her failure to allege any actual conduct that could compromise violations of these anti-hacking statutes. But this semantic sleight of hand fails. Each of Abel's claims requires affirmative action on the part of JonesWorks before any liability can attach. That is, they are requiring hacking. Abel alleges none, instead making only the conclusory allegation with no factual specificity or basis that JonesWorks, for example, had unrestricted access to everything stored on Abel's phone. Abel's attempt to distinguish Sunbelt Rentals is unpersuasive. Despite baldly asserting that, unlike Sunbelt Rentals, Abel's claims is based on the employer's willful conduct, she does not identify a single willful act JonesWorks took to supposedly access Abel's accounts. This is because the amended counterclaims do not allege any. As in Sunbelt Rentals, even if any messages appeared on the JonesWorks iPhone, they did so as a result of Abel's act of syncing the phone to her accounts, not any intentional act by JonesWorks. So she's not even denying the fact that she's not even denying the fact that, she might have seen some of her private stuff, but if she did that, it's because Jennifer Abel synced her phone. So if you sync your phone and then you give your phone up, who am I to not see if anything comes through? The cases Abel cites are in opposite. So then they go over to the cases that they cite, saying that those sites, Abel's allegations are a far cry from the specificity of Lindsay Stern and far more closely resemble the conclusory assertions lacking factual support that Sunbelt Rentals rightly rejected. Abel's argument that she adequately alleges an SCA violation also fails. In support of this argument, Abel offers only generic statements that the SCA can, in theory, apply to the trespass into the cloud accounts. This is wrong for two reasons. First, despite Abel's argument that she alleges that JonesWorks accessed her communications stored on cloud-based servers owned by Apple and Google, her actual claim is not tied to such allegations, instead only vaguely alleging that JonesWorks accessed and obtained Abel's data. Second, none of Abel's cases support her argument that boldly pleading Abel's data was intentionally accessed and obtained by JonesWorks is sufficient to plead an SCA or any other claim. Indeed, the argument is flatly precluded by Iqbal's prohibition of threadbare recitals of a claim's elements. Abel alleges no interception of any communication. Abel's argument that her allegations that JonesWorks monitored her text messages in real time contemporaneously with their transmission are sufficient to constitute an interception under the wiretap is wrong. Although the Second Circuit has not addressed the question, courts nationwide consistently hold that interception is limited to the acquisition during flight of electronic communications. That is before the communications arrive at their destination accounts. Abel alleges no such thing, instead alleging that JonesWorks was viewing the messages in her account, not while they were in flight to those accounts. Oh my gosh. The court dismissed the Wiretap Act claim because the plaintiff failed to allege an actual interception of any communications. Abel has not alleged an interception of her communications, so this claim fails. C. Abel's Section 502 arguments are meritless. First, Abel does not even respond to JonesWorks' argument that she does not plausibly allege any scheme and artifice to defraud as she must. This alone is grounds to dismiss the case. Second, Abel's opposition only confirms that her Section 502 claim provides insufficient notice, not only that the amended counterclaim is devoid of any reference of the subsections Abel now invokes, to the extent that she copied and pasted miscellaneous words from those subsections into her amended counterclaims. She did so in an incomprehensible manner that is inconsistent with what she now argues. Arguing, Abel alleges that Jones' works took, copied, or made wrongful use of data. Likewise, Abel's argument that the Ninth Circuit permitted a specifically pled Section 502 claim to move forward based on authorized access but unpermitted retrieval of data holds no water. Abel herself makes no specific allegations, instead alleging in wholly conclusory terms that Jones' works without permission obtained or otherwise used Abel's data, computer system, and computer network, and failing to allege or argue how Jones' works could, for example, use Abel's computer system without permission, without overcoming technical barriers as courts continue to require post-Christensen. Third, Abel's cited case in support of her alleged damages fail. Even in Lindsay Stern correctly concluded that the emotional damage were cognizable under Section 502. That holding is irrelevant as Abel does not allege emotional damages, only that she suffered damages. Oh my gosh. Did not hold that collection and disclosure of personal information are cognizable damages, as the court expressly declined to consider that argument. Section 502 does not apply outside of California. Abel offers a plethora of half-baked arguments for why a California criminal statute holds apply to conduct outside California. First, Abel relies only on irrelevant personal jurisdiction cases that do not mention 502. Second, Abel asserts she alleged that Jones' works accessed her iPhone data in California, but cites 3 paragraphs in her amended counterclaims that say no such thing. Termination meeting in California, but no access to data. Allegations of data, but no mention of California. California has defined the scope of its penal code, including Section 502, and Abel's claim does not fail within the scope, so it must be dismissed. Abel's arguments in favor of her tort claims are unavailing. Abel's privacy tort claims are not adequately pled. Abel argues that she alleged lack of Jones' works policies about the use of electronic devices permitted her to reasonably have an expectation in privacy in the iPhone owned by her employer. Even if this were true, which it is not, Abel's admittedly voluntarily provision of her passcode to Jones' works at the time of her termination nullifies such an expectation from that moment forward. That is, for the entire period during which she alleges Jones' works was invading her privacy. Thus, even if Abel plausibly alleged any facts supporting her bald claims that Jones' works accessed her personal information, which she does not, her claims fails. Abel's failure to offer any case law in favor of her false light claim dooms her argument. Despite repeating her vague allegations that Jones' work somehow created a misleading and damaging impression of Abel's involvement in a supported smear campaign, she nowhere alleges or argues how that impression was false or what Jones' works did to create it. Really, girl? Come on. Abel instead tries to rewrite this claim to now allege that Jones' works manipulated, altered, and selectively disclosed her private communications, but she cannot amend her amended counterclaim in her brief. And in any event, that argument directly contradicts Abel's own allegations, including that Jones' works supposedly turned over the entire contents of Abel's phones indiscriminately. With no plausible allegations of falsity, there can be no false light. Girl, you know what you did was so wrong and shady and broke so many ethical policies and just like morally, like you are gross. The fact that we are here today because you immediately turned over Abel's phone to Leslie Sloan. Like, come on. A fork's a fork, a spade's a spade, yeah? A phone number Abel voluntarily transferred cannot be converted. Abel argues that courts have increasingly recognized that phone numbers can be subject to conversion, but none of these cases she cites are binding, on point, or applicable. Then they go over all of the cases. Abel tellingly does not address the New York and California courts that have rejected her position, because applicable law holds that phone numbers are not property. Abel's conversion claims fails. Even more fundamentally, Abel completely ignores the fact that she voluntarily transferred the phone number to a JonesWorks phone and JonesWorks phone service account when she began working there in 2020 and accepted JonesWorks' payment for that phone and service. She does not even try to allege that JonesWorks promised to return the phone number at that time, only vaguely alleging entirely subjectively that she had no problem with this so long as she could retain ownership of her phone number and bring it with her should she leave JonesWorks. Even if the phone number were property, which it is not, Abel cannot sue for conversion while she voluntarily gave that property to JonesWorks. And hold your horses, because this is, I think, where I was like... C. Abel's argument regarding her emotional distress claims is unsuccessful. First, Abel argues that a deliberate and malicious campaign of harassment or intimidate or abuse of position of power can constitute extreme and outrageous conduct. Both cases she cites only confirm how far short of this standard her allegations fall. A police sergeant interfered in a custody dispute with 2 false light complaints to Child Services, an hours-long unsanctioned interrogation and threats later carried out to call the judge presiding over the dispute, and an attorney singled out the plaintiffs for 10 hours of hostile, abusive, and degrading interrogation that included threats to the FBI prohibiting that the plaintiff's personal relationship and humiliation of her use of English. Abel's generic allegations do not approach that level of either of these cases. Second, Abel cannot find refuge in the argument that her conclusory allegations of panic and despair and mental anguish are sufficient. Courts demand more than these mere recitals of emotional distress. Abel's own cases confirm this. For example, in Vassarberber, the plaintiff suffered significant weight loss and cessation of menstruation, as well as anxiety and sleeplessness requiring medication. Abel's reliance on the 55-year-old decision in Fletcher versus Western National Life Company does not change this, as that decision addressed standards applicable to individuals who are known to be more susceptible, which Abel does not argue includes her. Third, none of Abel's cases support her novel argument that an employer has a perpetual duty to protect all of an employee's information. The court inoppositely considers a former employer's obligation to safeguard personally identifiable information that is required employees to provide to it. Did not, and then they go into the case that they cited, it did not relate to an employer's duty at all, but to whether a special relationship existed between a software company and consumers. D. Abel's Rule 9b argument is a non sequitur. Abel responds to Rule 9b argument that JonesWorks does not make. In doing so, she seeks to distract from the fact that she has no response, let alone a meritorious one, to the arguments that JonesWorks does make, that she alleges no facts in support to her conclusory allegations, that Ms. Duran knew his statements were false when he made them, that she alleges no legally cognizable reliance, and that she alleges no cognizable harm. The court should deny Abel's request to again amend her pleading. Leave to amend should generally be denied in instances of futility, undue delay, bad faith, or a dilatory motive, repeated failure to cure deficiencies by amendments previously allowed, or undue prejudice. Abel has already amended her counterclaims once after JonesWorks first moved to dismiss them. That amendment did not correct the pleadings to address the motions to dismiss, but made wholesale changes, dropping 6 claims and adding 5 new ones that are equally, if not more, faulty. This court should not permit Abel to continue wildly amending her pleadings in scattershot fashion with no articulated, factual, or legal grounding in search of a theory. Conclusion. For all of these reasons and those in plaintiff's motion, the motion should be granted. It's so crazy because she's not even denying anything that she did it. She's just saying that, like, they haven't cited the proper laws or pleaded their case properly. And then to say that, like, Abel, hasn't suffered, oh gosh, I hope I don't get hiccups, hasn't suffered or hasn't proven that she has suffered because of her Stephanie Jones's actions is absolutely wild, because poor Jennifer Abel, like, honestly, first of all, having to work for her for that long and then leaving to start something of your own and having this happen to you is so disgusting to me. But then we go on to the next one that she filed, and it's Stephanie Jones, Jonesworks LLC, as the plaintiffs against Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, Justin Baldoni, Wayfair Studios, and of course, John Doe's 1 through 10. And this is her support of their motion to dismiss Wayfair Studios LLC's amended counterclaims. Okay, let's get into it. Let's let the gaslighting begin in 3, 2, 1. The opposition confirms that plaintiffs exposed in their motion 1. Wayfair's amended counterclaims are nothing more than a play for media attention to perpetuate a distraction narrative. What an opening sentence. Not an effort at serious litigation. No, I think they're pretty serious. I think they are pretty serious. I think a lot of people are taking this very seriously, Stephanie Jones, okay? Desperate to prolong that narrative and avoid any consideration of plaintiffs' legitimate and revealing claims, Wayfair in opposition continues to insist in conclusory fashion that its engagement letter must have been breached and it must have been defamed, relying solely on baseless speculation. This transparent effort to find a scapegoat for the damage Wayfair and its co-conspirators caused is unavailing, and Wayfair cannot maintain its claims. The motion showed that the amended counterclaims suffer from many fatal flaws. They fail to identify any confidential information that was disclosed, let alone improperly disclosed, or articulate a single way plaintiffs acted unprofessionally. What? Oh, this is so jokes. Do not plead a concrete injury flowing from plaintiff's purported conduct, assert an implied covenant claim that is both duplicative and legally unsound, and advance a defamation claim that is deficient under the substantively identical standards of New York and California law. The opposition half-hearted attempts to disguise these deficiencies with ineffective conjecture, but this effort only underscores the fundamental shortcomings of the amended counterclaims and why they must be dismissed. 1. Wayfair did not adequately plead plaintiffs breached the argument. As plaintiffs showed in the motion, both of Wayfair's contract claims must be dismissed. First, Wayfair did not adequately plead its breach of contract counterclaim concerning the agreement's confidentiality provision, despite the opposition's posturing. Amended counterclaims do not identify any of Wayfair's internal discussions, strategic communication, sensitivity opinions, or any other sources of information that were purportedly disclosed by plaintiffs, let alone demonstrate that any such information was confidential per the agreement. The law is clear that a party must specifically allege what was disclosed and why it is confidential. The audacity. I mean, turning over all of Jennifer Abel's text messages and emails that she had with Wayfair, regardless, should always be confidential. I mean, I don't understand, how can she just plead so ignorant here? Wayfair's theories that plaintiffs disclosed confidential information before any subpoena was issued is pure conjecture. It hinges entirely on Wayfair's speculation about a single alleged phone call between Sloan and Nathan, in which no Wayfair principal even alleged took part. Even if the court indulged such speculation, which it should not, the amended counterclaims plead no facts showing that any supposed disclosure was wrongful, and never directly allege that Sloan saw any of Wayfair's information, let alone confidential information. Second, Wayfair's claim that plaintiffs breached the agreement's provision requiring Jonesworks to provide services in a professional manner and in accordance with the goals mutually established by Jonesworks and Wayfair fares no better. Although Wayfair wishes this provision required plaintiffs to follow Wayfair's instructions, it requires only professionalism aligned with mutually set goals, not blanket obedience. The amended counterclaims do not specify how taking a long-planned vacation, attempting to return a call to someone Jones mistakenly believed was a Daily Mail reporter but was not, as confirmed by phone records Jones provided to Wayfair, or the purported contents of alleged emails to Sony constitute a breach of that provision. Wayfair's convenient dissatisfaction in hindsight does not allow it to basely allege breach. The amended counterclaims never identify any such goal, let alone plead facts showing Jonesworks did not act in furtherance of any of the goals actually identified in the agreement. You're a monster! Why would Wayfair ever want to work with you? Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni working with you after knowing your true colors. Ew, gross. Knowing what you did to Jennifer Abel and how you did it. Why would anybody want to work with you again? Like, that is a total breach of their moral alignment and compass, and does not, you guys are not on the same level morally, okay? 2, Wayfarer did not adequately plead harm. Even if Wayfarer could plausibly allege breach, it cannot. Requires dismissal because the amended counterclaim fails to tether any supposed breaches to any concrete, non-speculative injury. The opposition unsuccessfully seeks to sidestep this by regurgitating the amended counterclaim's speculative assertions of harm. Yet Wayfarer offers nothing beyond abstractions. It claims public scorn or unidentified hit to reputation and an amorphous threat to its viability. It does not identify, for example, a single distributor it's lost, a deal that collapsed, or a dollar of revenue that disappeared because any alleged disclosure or unprofessional act occurred. It is also just as plausible that any alleged harm resulted from something else entirely, including Wayfarer's own conduct, litigation tactics, or other claims asserted against it. Wayfarer also attributes those vague purported harms to both contractual breaches without any differentiation, failing to explain how the alleged disclosure of confidential information and unprofessionalism caused the same exact harm. Courts confronted with identically nebulous allegation dismissed at the pleading stage. Wayfarer does not legitimately contest the applicability of the Speak Out Act. The opposition concedes the essential predicates for the act. 1, confidentiality covenant predates the PR crisis. The crisis centers on sexual harassment allegations. And 3, Wayfarer seeks to punish disclosures concerning that alleged misconduct. It offers no substantive rebuttal to the act's applicability and no explanation as to why the application of this federal law presents a factual dispute. To the contrary, the issue is plainly one of law. The statutory bar is triggered on the pleadings, and where an NDA is categorically unenforceable under the act, dismissal is required as a matter of law. Wayfarer's attempt to manufacture factual questions cannot overcome the act's clear mandate. The statute contains no carve-out for PR engagements, and courts have not created one. This court should not accept Wayfarer's invitation to defy the statutory text and invent phantom exemptions. Wayfarer's performance was not excused. Wayfarer's attempt to sidestep its own breach by asserting that its performance was excused due to plaintiff's supposed earlier breaches collapses under both law and fact. As a threshold matter, New York law is clear. To excuse performance, a party must allege a prior and material breach of the counterparty. Wayfarer does not allege that it terminated the agreement after or because it knew of any purported improper disclosure of its confidential information or any other material divergent from the terms of the agreement, let alone allege the precise date on which it advised plaintiffs that it was terminating the agreement. Alleging that Wayfarer and Baldoni advised Jones that they were terminating the Jones Works agreement as of the end of August, and Wayfarer does not contest, because it cannot, that it did not provide Jones Works the requisite notice and opportunity to cure under the agreement. Wayfarer's revisionist history seeking to justify improperly jumping ship without fulfilling its contractual obligations does not entitle it to disregard a termination provision it did not invoke. Its failure to terminate the agreement in real time based on any purported disclosure of confidential information or unprofessionalism defeats its claims. Wayfarer's implied covenant claim must be denied. Wayfarer's attempt to repurpose its implied covenant claim to retroactively amend the agreement is both improper and a fundamental misrepresentation of the law. Implied covenant claims are not tools to rewrite contracts after the fact or supply terms or obligations for which a party wishes it had bargained. Although Wayfarer asserts that plaintiffs disputing the existence of a contractual term, specifically whether the contract requires them to follow their client's instructions and stated goals, is properly addressed via its implied covenant claim, that is precisely the domain of a breach of contract claim. Either a term exists in the contract or it does not. The term does not. Wayfair has not alleged any misconduct distinct from that which allegedly breached the agreement, and an implied covenant claim cannot be pleaded in the alternative when it is wholly duplicate of a breach of contract claim, as is the case here. New York law applies to Wayfair's defamation counterclaim. There is no actual conflict between California and New York law. New York and not California law governs Wayfair's defamation claims. Wayfair has not met its burden of demonstrating an actual conflict, and the opposition merely attempts to manufacture one where none exists. As New York courts have recognized, there is no actual conflict between New York and California defamation laws with respect to pleading requirements or expression of opinion. So then why not just do it in California then? Stephanie Jones, why are you arguing then? If there's literally no difference, then what's the problem? What's the problem, girl? Wayfair cites to no case in which a court applied divergent defamation rules to facts like these. That is because the rules of both states are materially the same. In both, pure expressions of opinions, like the alleged statements here, are non-actionable. Wayfair's attempt to gin up a conflict thus fails. To gin up a conflict? Interesting. New York's interest analysis test weighs in favor of New York law. Even if there were a conflict, New York law applies because it has the most significant interest in this litigation. Wayfair is incorrect in its assertion that the plaintiff's domicile is dispositive of the applicable state's law. Instead, in cases where an allegedly defamatory statement is published nationally, there is only a presumptive rule of that law of the plaintiff's domicile applies, which does not hold true if, with respect to the particular issue, some other state has more significant relationship to the issue or the parties. Kingsley is directly on point. Like in Kingsley, here New York has the most significant interest in the litigation because the alleged defamatory statements emanated from New York. It was allegedly made by Jones, who was and is based in New York, and as Wayfair acknowledges, its smear campaign was ultimately reported nationwide by the New York Times. New York law thus applies here, and Wayfair's defamation claims fails under the New York law. So how in one paragraph you're saying, oh, there's no difference, so it doesn't matter which law, but you know what, their claim actually doesn't work here in New York, so that's why we're going to go with New York. That makes no sense to me. Here, the amended counterclaims do not allege whatsoever how the challenged statements was false, including how a smear campaign did not occur or that Lively was not retaliated against. OMG. That's all I have to say about that, because like, what? Come on. Of course they're saying the statements were false. That's why they're filing all of these lawsuits. That's why they're filing all of these counterclaims, because what y'all are doing is lying. Like, you want to go one by one and say how you're lying? Like, that's what it's going to happen in court, babe. Second, Wayfair's failure to plead actual malice is fatal under both New York and California law. As the only basis for this element, the opposition points to allegations that Jones was copied on many of Wayfair's emails and text threads during the relevant period. But this flounders under Iqbal. The amended counterclaim not only contains no concrete allegations supporting this conclusory assertion, but the many texts and emails included in the amended counterclaims contradict them. There is not a single text or email showing Jones discussing Wayfair's smear campaign, and the only pertinent communications, including Jones, shows that she was encouraging a positive approach. What? The assertion is also flatly belied by Wayfair's numerous allegations of Jones's purported lack of involvement with the Wayfair Baldoni accounts, admitting that Jones was not privy to Wayfair's leadership communication strategy. Wayfair cannot have it both ways. No, you can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. Wayfair cannot have it both ways. Its own allegations defeat its actual malice argument, and its defamation counterclaims must be dismissed. New York's anti-SLAPP law warrants fees for plaintiffs. Oh my gosh, now she wants fees. Finally, plaintiffs are owed attorney fees under New York's anti-SLAPP law. Wayfarer's dependence on La Liberté versus Reed is in opposite, as it addresses California's anti-SLAPP law, not New York's. And Wayfarer's claim that virtually all of courts in the Southern District of New York have determined that New York's anti-SLAPP laws fee shifting provision does not apply in federal court is false. Multiple courts in this circuit, including very recently, have determined that New York civil rights law. My gosh. Further amendment by Wayfarer would be futile. Leave to amend should generally be denied in instances of futility, undue delay, bad faith, or dilatory motive, repeated failure to cure deficiencies by amendments previously allowed, or under prejudice. Wayfarer has already amended its counterclaim once after plaintiffs moved to dismiss them. Any amendment by Wayfarer, which has long had knowledge of the brunt of the facts underlying its claims for more than 9 months, and which has already failed to cure the pleadings defects in the first amended counterclaims, would be futile and is unwarranted. For the foregoing reasons, plaintiffs respectfully request that the court dismiss Wayfarer's counterclaims with prejudice, meaning that they cannot refile. Wow, so there you have it. She definitely does not want them to be able to refile, and she wants them dismissed with prejudice, meaning that they can't refile again. It's just so bananas. I don't know how she's able to take this stance that everything she did was perfectly okay. Everything she did was perfectly okay. Stephanie motherfucking Jones, please, okay? Ain't nobody believing you or on your side. Sorry, not sorry. Like, what are you talking about? The more I hear from Blake Lively's team and Stephanie Jones, the more I'm just like, what is wrong with you people? We already know. We already know about the sham subpoena by the fake lawsuit. We already know that you guys literally worked together after you acquired Jennifer Abel's phones. And Stephanie Jones, you gave that to Leslie Sloan. Because how did she get them? Right? And then literally cherry-picked. Even in Stephanie Jones's own lawsuit, the messages are so cherry-picked, it doesn't make sense. What the picture you guys are trying to paint, baby, you know, this puzzle that you're trying to put all the pieces to, it's missing. It's missing a lot of pieces, okay? It doesn't make any sense. But we are wide awake, eyes open, and we see you. We see you, Blake Lively. We see you, Ryan Reynolds. We see you, Leslie Sloan. We see you, Stephanie Jones. Okay? A bunch of bitter, angry, resentful people who really thought that you could destroy these people's lives and carry on like everything is Gucci. Well, guess what? It's not going to work, babes. Okay? It's not happening. Not with Wayfarer. Because we've had enough of it. We've had enough of bullies. We've had enough of these power people doing whatever they can. Money-hungry monsters. That's what all of you are. And Stephanie Jones, if Wayfarer hadn't left you because of what you did to Jennifer Abel and the way you did it, you would have never handed over those phone records to Leslie Sloan. You are the reason why we are all here today. So I guess maybe thank you, because you've really woke something up in me along with a bunch of other people, and you've literally built communities to fight for what's right. And now that we have this body double coming forward, like, I don't want to pick sides, but you know, babe, you just picked a side, okay, for everything that you said. Oh, she was so closed off. Why do you think that is? And I really think, honestly, for Blake Lively, why she was on that set miserable is because she wanted her whole life to play Lady Pool. Lady Pool was made off Blake Lively. She's in an interview, and I've already covered this, saying like how they created Lady Pool. And then when they went to go shoot Lady Pool in Deadpool and Wolverine, guess who didn't put her in that Lady Pool outfit? Her own husband, Ryan Reynolds. Why is that? And then making jokes about how she just had a kid and she lost all the baby fat and you can't tell. But you still didn't put her in the movie. She did voiceover. So I think, knowing that Ryan Reynolds was all the way wherever he was shooting Deadpool and Wolverine with a lady pool that was made for Blake, got her all up in her feelings. And that's why when Justin asked about her weight, it triggered something in her that she's not over there in the movie that she long time has wanted to play. She already had her guard up. She was already insecure. And that all came from her husband, not from Justin Baldoni. Okay? It's just so crazy when you see all of the things that she has done with other male actors, other things, and then saying, oh, he lingered too long on a kiss. Oh, he's hugging. Come on. You were all up in your feelings. You wanted to take control of this movie so you can have something of your own. Because all of your besties, as well as your nemesis, which it looks like it's a one-sided fight here, you know, you took a man from another woman. Multiple at this point. You took multiple men from other women. But this one put a ring on it. Right? And then he didn't even put you in the movie to play Lady Pool. And I think there's a lot of stories going on in that marriage about why Ryan Reynolds always shows up on Blake Lively sets. Is it because her repeated pattern of falling in love with male co-stars? I don't know. There's just a lot going on between these two that I think have nothing to do with Justin Baldoni, Jamie Heath, Steve Soritz, Melissa Nathan, Jennifer Abel, It Ends With Us, LLC. They all kind of just got stuck in the spider web of whatever is happening with Snake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. And that's, I mean, I could go on, but that's literally like, oh my gosh, like enough is enough. Well, that is it. So let's shake it off. Let's go. You know, that was it. I hope you're having a great day. I had an amazing weekend. I mean, I worked a lot, but then I also carved out the time to revamp my website and send that to the designer, as well as work on my feature, which I had said I was going to carve out that time so I can sit down and do it. And I did it. And of course, there's still more work to do, but I was just so excited that I got those projects like done and I started them and like, you know, worked on them, which was great. And now it is so hot out and it's going to be so hot out tomorrow. And I'm just so excited. And yeah, I guess that's it for me. I mean, I don't really have that much except to just like keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Whatever you're doing day by day, just like, just keep going. If it's in you, it's in you, and it's for you, okay? So I hope you're having the most amazing day. Drop your comments on everything, and yeah, I hope soon I can sit here and say, Ryan Reynolds isn't being dismissed. Blake Lively isn't being dismissed. Stephanie Jones isn't being dismissed. Leslie Sloan isn't being dismissed. And the New York freaking Time is not being dismissed. I hope soon I can say those words and it's true, you know? I don't know what the judge is doing, but we need some verdicts, okay? We need some decisions made quite soon because it's just getting a little bit out of hand. And it really goes to show how desperate Blake Lively and Leslie Sloan are right now because they are pulling out all stops. I don't know who's going to be next to come out and say something about Blake, but my gosh. Yeah, I'll see you soon on the next one. I hope you're having the most amazing day. I love you. Thank you. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.